Hello everyone, I'm the UFC, this is Blue Lines TV, and today I'm bringing you guys another Predict That 11 video for our upcoming game against AS Roma in the Champions League tomorrow night. And to kick off with things, I do expect KANTE to use a 3-4-3 system for the game tomorrow. I think after he saw how Roma approached the game against us at Stamford Bridge with the likes of Perez and Kolarov bombing forwards whenever they wanted and creating the overloads out wide. But anyway, getting on with the team 11. Starting with the goalkeeper, Courtois will regain his place in the team, and I feel with Courtois, as I have been saying, that I feel he needs to improve on his distribution, but this is the type of game that he strives in. The guy is physically dominant, aerially dominant, he does a lot in our set pieces, I think a bit too much. I feel that we don't win enough of the balls aerially, but thank God we've got Courtois there. Moving on to the back three, starting with the right hand side. Of course, Azpilicueta will regain his place in the team. I felt he put in a good performance against Bournemouth, and I'm hoping that this is going to be the kickstart where we see the Azpi from last season. I feel that with Azpi playing on the far right, I prefer him pushing out wide to help defend with with the wing back, and I feel that that's the most natural way for Azpilicueta to play, and we were seeing signs of that, and we saw signs of that against Bournemouth. Not only that, he was also very aware in those central defensive situations. He made a fantastic block, for example, in that Bournemouth game, and it was just a nice, confident performance to see from him. Moving on to the middle of the back three, and yes, Davon Lewis will be playing there. Of course, it was kind of concerning to see that massive bandage on Davon Lewis's right knee, so if there was a possibility that he didn't play against Roma, I think there might be a slight chance. But anyway, Davon Lewis is a warrior, he fights through pain. We know famously in the Champions League final against Bayern Munich, he pulled his hamstring yet he continued the whole game playing for nearly 2 hours. So Davon Lewis is that type of old school Chelsea player where he does put his body on the line first, and thank God that we have him. Still, there were slight signs in that Bournemouth game where he was facing a bit of difficulties. I wouldn't say huge difficulties, but of course with his knee, obviously when you're playing football, you have to use your knees a lot when you're turning and applying pressure to strikers. So of course that's going to take its toll a bit. So I'm just hoping that he's going to be fully fit for the game against Roma tomorrow. Now, moving on to the left-hand side of the back three. Now, you know what? I was thinking Gary Cahill might have a chance of playing because Conte did leave him out, but I'm also thinking at the same time, maybe Conte decided to play Rudiger on the left-hand side to really ascertain how well he'll play playing there. And of course, I thought Rudiger had one of his best performances against Bournemouth. Of course, with his distribution, his ability to play those forward passes, which helps a lot because the pressure isn't on Luis and especially Azpilicueta to do that, and also his ability to push into midfield and actually play progressive passes, it really helped. We were able to beat a lot of Bournemouth's pressing up front because Luis felt comfortable playing out to Rudiger, and I feel that I wouldn't be surprised if Rudiger plays against Roma tomorrow. Of course, playing against the team that we signed him from. Of course, I know that one commenter was suggesting maybe the racial abuse that he did receive in that Champions League game at home might mean he might not play. I don't think that's the case at all. Rudiger isn't that type of player, even though it's disgusting. But again, very mentally strong, and if anything, he'd be even hungrier to play against Roma to really shut some of the minority of those Roma fans up. Now, moving on to the wing-back position, starting with left wing-back and Alonso. And yes, as I have been saying, Alonso, of course, it was a combination of Bournemouth not really caring about possession in that game, but you can see a more confident Alonso in terms of his ability to bomb forward. Yeah, he might not have been necessarily that accomplished in the final third, but he was in much more advanced, higher up positions on a more consistent basis. And of course, having Rudiger there helped. And whenever Bournemouth did have a few attacks down that side, Rudiger was there, pushed out to the left-hand side to really help mop things up. So I feel it just makes sense for Rudiger to play there, and you just see a more confident Alonso because Alonso's much more adventurous with the positions that he's taking up. Moving on to the right wing back, and yes, Zappacosta will regain his place there. I feel with Zappacosta, with his dynamism, his energy, his enthusiasm, it is quite infectious, and I have taking quite a liking to him. Of course, there are some limitations, for example, maybe defensively, with his positioning, not getting tight enough to mark us all the time, and sometimes we do struggle to play out from the back with him because he isn't that great, obviously, with his control of the ball in tight situations and his ability to play out. But again, that's what we have Moses for. Zappacosta brings different dynamics to our team, and it's a nice combination, as I keep stressing, to have two completely different wing-backs. Now, moving on to central midfield, and yes, I do see Kante regaining his place there. Conte's been getting more excited about this thought, and as I have been saying before, Kante really is like a cheat code for this team to really work, especially because of his ball winning ability, which is the best I've seen since Makelele in terms of how he gets his body across. The guy's so good at tackling that he only gives away a foul unless he wants to. It's very rarely Kante is getting caught out and giving away a foul. Also, we've been seeing a much more adventurous Kante in terms of his offensive abilities. The long shots he's been taking, it's been on a much more consistent basis. He's playing much more forward passes, much more adventurous passes as well. And as I have been saying, I was praying and hoping that we'd see Kante evolve into a Michael Essien-like midfield player. And of course, it's been unfortunate that he's been out for nearly a month with his injury he sustained, but I'm excited to see his development, and I'm hoping that it wasn't just a short period. I'm hoping that this is actually some sustained growth in Kante's ability, and if that is the case, then you guys, we've got something really exciting on our hands. Moving on to the other midfield player, and I do see Bakayoko starting in this game. Now, I was going to go with Fabregas, but I kind of feel that this is the type of midfield that Conte really wanted to use, and I feel that with Bakayoko, he has been getting criticised by a lot of fans. I don't want to blow my horn, but I have been saying during the summer, before we even sign him, what to really expect with Bakayoko, and it's gone exactly as I told you guys. Of course, he's going to need time, a lot of time. Of course, no pre-season, not fully fit, playing in a different tactical system, playing in a league where players will just run at you without thinking. And of course, you know, it's hard. You know, it's hard for him to keep up to terms. I've been looking at some of his pass snaps. He's not too involved in possession. He's not really becoming like a decent passing outlet like you'd hope he'd be. Again, I'm not going to expect any decent performances until maybe February, January time. If anything, it brings up the argument that if you're spending so much money on a player, surely you're expecting quicker results. Because if that's the case, why not just use a Chalobah, for example, where he probably could have improved if he's playing consistently in how many months? But that's a different story for another day. Now, moving on to the front three, and at first I was thinking that Conte might use a front two where Hazard and Morata are playing close, but I remembered the threat that Roma were having with their fullbacks, and Conte did switch the system up, as I said earlier, to combat that. So starting with the right hand side, and I feel Pedro will be playing there. He was subbed off fairly early against Bournemouth, and of course I'm thinking Conte's expecting to use him for the game against Roma. And Pedro, even though, you know, it is quite frustrating. I mean, really, the reason why he suits playing in the front three, as we all know, is his movement off the ball, his ability to play in the spaces, create spaces for the other front three to operate. But in terms of his ability, it is quite frustrating. You know, I keep making this point about Pedro. He'll play one good game, one, you know, very standard game, and one bad game, and that's been the story of his Chelsea career, in my opinion. I mean, he's lucky that, of course, switching to this new system is helping get the best out of the other players, even if Pedro isn't necessarily performing as well. But of course, he does suit us tactically, and he is going to be a big help for the game against Roma, because he does like to play in those half spaces, and half spaces are areas that really put a lot of trouble to, you know, teams' defences. Moving on to the left-hand side, yes, Eden Hazard, he did score against Bournemouth. That's been 5-5, and the guy is just the cream of the crop. You know, what Lampard was saying about him in terms of how essential he is to the team. And even though he wasn't trying to put pressure on Willian or Pedro, he was saying that maybe we rely on him a bit too much, which is the case. And I really feel that if we did sign someone on the right that was similar to his ability, in terms of someone that will cut inside, that can beat a man, that can link up the play on the counter-attack, someone like a Mahrez or a Sanchez, for example, that could have put a lot of pressure off Hazard, and then we'd have more space to play and break teams down. And that's obviously Hazard's then getting in on goal more often, if that's the case. I'm hoping that that's going to be the plan in the future. I mean, Hazard is our best player by far. That game against Bournemouth, even when they were putting men on him, he's just beating that so easily. He's too dangerous. He is the best player in the league, and honestly, I kind of feel that if he made his life easier in that regards, he would be on goal more. And because the guy is very clinical, that would naturally translate to him scoring more goals. And moving on to the striker, yes, Morata will be playing. And with Morata, of course, I have made this point that he's a great football player, but I wouldn't say he's a world-class striker. For example, as has been the pattern with Alvaro Morata, he always gets that first chance in the first 10-15 minutes, a very gilt-edged chance. Usually that's what Diego Costa made his name from. He'll take those chances, you're 1-0 up, that changes the whole dynamic of a game. It puts in a more advantageous situation. And I feel with Morata, he is a very confidence-driven player. He needs to score goals to get a feel of the game and help relieve pressure that he puts on himself. Of course, it's hard because he always has been an understudy throughout his career. It's his first real attempt at being a first-team striker. It is going to take him time to get over that, but he will with this system, the players around him, and the fact that even if he plays badly, he will be playing in the next game. Slowly, that's going to help him improve as a player, and I'm expecting by the time he's 26 years old that he'll potentially be a world-class striker. But then on, I think this game against Roma, I wouldn't be surprised for him to get a goal. I feel with that link-up play with the front three especially with Roma, as I keep stressing, they're better on the ball than they are off the ball. Morata will definitely have spaces to play in that space between the defence and the midfield, and I'm expecting Hazard and Pedro to take advantage of that. Now I'm going to show you guys my predicted lineup, and there's only 2 changes in the first team. I have gone for a 3-4-3, but I did put in Christensen and Fabregas. I put in Christensen because I looked at Davon Lewis and I thought potentially he might not be fit for the Roma game, especially because he was getting troubled a bit by his knee, and in the past few games we have been seeing Lewis hobbling a bit more or struggling a tiny bit at times, and I feel maybe even a rest might help him. He can say winning the balls back, and I feel that with the spaces that Roma are going to leave, Fabregas will make use of that space with his passing, and I think that'll only help the front three more, because when they're making runs and behinds, Fabregas' passing ability is going to help unlock that, especially when Bakayoko has been struggling a bit and hasn't really been playing as well or as dominantly as we expected. But anyway, you guys, that's going to end my predicted 11 for our game against Roma tomorrow. Please like, comment and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. In the comment section below, let me hear some of your thoughts and opinions on who you think might be the team lineup for tomorrow. And also, one quick thing, if you haven't pressed the bell notification sign, please do that. It's on the right hand side of the subscription tab. It's right there. It will take you literally 1 second to do that. Do that to stay up to date to everything Blue Lions TV. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm EFC, and I'll see you guys later.